Cranial nerves are nerves that extend out into the periphery, so they're part of the peripheral nervous system, but they do not pass through the spinal cord, right? So they originate in the brain, go out to the periphery, don't pass through the spinal cord. And there are 12 cranial nerves that are numbered 1 through 12, and each one has its own name. And some of the cranial nerves carry only sensory information, so only afferent neurons coming towards the central nervous system. Some of them carry only motor information, so only efferent neurons going away from the central nervous system. But some of them carry both sensory and motor information, which is what we call mixed nerves. So some are sensory, some are motor, some are both. So let's take a look at the individual sort of cranial nerves. The first cranial nerve number 1, is the olfactory nerve. And the olfactory nerve is a sensory nerve, and it carries information about the sense of smell. Okay. Then we move on to cranial nerve number 2, and I'm using a different color here because cranial nerve number 2 is going to originate in the midbrain, right? So cranial nerve number 2 is the optic nerve. It too is going to carry sensory information, and it's going to be information about vision. Right? Cranial nerve number 3. This is your oculomotor. Right? So if it's oculomotor, what do we think it does? Right? It's going to be a motor neuron, and it's going to be responsible for movement of the eye. Okay. Cranial nerve number 4. Right? This is the trochlear nerve. Okay. It is a motor nerve. It too is responsible for eye movement. It's responsible for medial movement of the eye. Right? Then if we go to cranial nerve number 5, I'm going to switch colors because cranial nerve number 5 is going to originate in the pons, and that is our trigeminal nerve. And it is a mixed nerve, so we're going to say it carries both sensory and motor information, and it is face sensation, and mastication, chewing. Okay. Then I'm going to switch colors again because the next set of cranial nerves, numbers 6 through 8, are found in sort of the junction between the pons and the medulla. So we're just going to switch colors again. We're going to go cranial nerve number 6, and cranial nerve number 6 is the abducens. And abducens. Okay. And your abducens is a motor nerve. Right? And it is responsible for movement of the eye as well. So look at that. We got 3 cranial nerves responsible for movement of the eye. Right? And this is responsible for lateral movement of the eye. Cranial nerve number 7. Number 7 is our facial nerve, and it is both. So it's a mixed nerve, and it is facial expression and your sense of taste. Okay, gustation. Okay, and then cranial nerve number 8. This is the vestibulocochlear. Big long one. Vestibulocochlear, and this is going to be sensory information. And if it's the vestibulocochlear, right, this is going to be hearing and balance. Hearing and balance. Cranial nerve number 8. Okay, then we're going to move on to cranial nerve number 9. I'm going to switch colors again. We will go with red. right? And this is because we're moving into the medulla oblongata, right? So let's look at cranial nerve number 9. Cranial nerve number 9 is the glossopharyngeal. And the glossopharyngeal is both, so it's a mixed nerve, right? And this is responsible for taste and a gag reflex. Okay. Then we have cranial nerve number 10. Okay. Cranial nerve number 10 is the vagus nerve, and it is both as well. Okay. And so this is the vagus nerve is the gag reflex. And then also involved in the parasympathetic division. So we'll say parasympathetic functions. Okay. Cranial nerve number 11. This is our accessory. And it is motor. And it is shoulder muscles. Scoot this up just a little bit so that we can fit cranial nerve number 12 on there, which is the hypoglossal. Hypoglossal, this is a motor nerve, and it's involved in swallowing and a bit in speech. So tongue movement there, right? So you have olfactory, optic, oculomotor, trochlear, trigeminal, abducens, facial, vestibulocochlear, glossopharyngeal, vagus, accessory, and hypoglossal, right? So how is it that you're going to remember these, right? So all we have to do, right, is think of a mnemonic to come up with a way that we are going to understand these, right? So my mnemonic that I use is O once one takes the anatomy final, very good vacations are happening. Right, so O once one takes the anatomy final, very good vacations are happening. Okay, so that'll give us the 12 cranial nerves in order. So then, right, we have to try to remember which ones are sensory, which ones are motor, and which ones are both or mixed. So I've used another mnemonic to sort of memorize this as well, and it is some say money matters, but my brother says big brains matter more. Some say money matters, but my brother says big brains matter more. Right? So you can sort of build your chart with your mnemonics. O once one takes the anatomy final, very good vacations are happening. And then some say money matters, but my brother says big brains matter more. And that will line them up and tell you the nerve, plus whether it is sensory, motor, or both. Right? So those are the cranial nerves.